Welcome back to the Best Coaster of the Year weekly series. Last week, you guys voted for the best coaster of 1998. This is the first time in 5 weeks a B&M has not won. Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm was voted the best. That's that awesome CCI down at Knott's Berry Farm. And that defeated Riddler's Revenge. That was the B&M in the running this week. Not as strong of a B&M as the previous, the inverts and Kumba and the sit-downs that won. But yeah, it's the first time since 1992 or Eagles Fortress. The first time since then that B&M hasn't won. And I mean, really, it wasn't as strong of a year for B&M. They had Oblivion, Great Bear. So I figured it was a lower tier invert, so I shouldn't really include it. Instead, I would include three really solid CCIs, and they are all really solid CCIs. You got Ghost Rider with that nice L-shaped layout. Some great laterals and airtime on this ride now, especially with that GCI reverb. Not as big of a fan of the Millennium Flyers over the PTCs, but that's just me. Rampage, really nice twister, some solid airtime in there, really strong laterals too. Shivering Timbers, kind of the same thing, less laterals but more airtime. Lots of nice floater on that ride for sure. I mean, really, it's a matter of preference. I'm not sure what I prefer more. Maybe I'm more of a Shivering Timbers guy. Who knows? These are all some great solid CCIs. And Riddler's Revenge, I mean, maybe you could see it as being better than Ghost Rider. I mean, they're probably, I'm sure some people will compare them. They're in close by parks. Thing is, from what I remember from my ride, it's not as intense as like a Kumba or anything. Like some people say it's a stand-up Kumba. Hell no. It has that floater airtime hill. I don't think it's really anything all that special though. So, unfortunately, sorry. I mean, yeah, Riddler's is cool, and I'll say it's underrated, but not that underrated. Moving on, you're voting for one of these four coasters that opened in 1999. Which one's the best? We've got Twister at Knoebels, the in-house Twister wooden coaster. Top Gun, which is now known as Afterburn, at Carowinds, the B&M invert. Tremors at Silverwood, the CCI Woody, and Anaconda at Gold Reef City, the Guy of Nola invert. So you're going to vote for one of those four 1994 coasters as the best, using that eye in the top right corner of the video. And moving on, we have a lot of coasters to talk about today, because 99, this is when coasters became, relevant coasters became very common. Stuff like Apollo's Chariot, that's right, did not include Apollo's Chariot. I think it's like a top 5 worst B&M Hyper. That thing doesn't look too great, but it's still a really cool ride. Follows the terrain. Its drop is 30 feet taller than the lift hill height. It's kind of cool. It drops over the Rhine River or whatever it is, and it looks pretty cool. Really interesting color scheme. Not really big fan of it, but it's just cool with Apollo, and it's not really themed, but it's kind of cool. I don't know. That's what I'm going to say about Apollo's Chariot. And it does have that really weird hill that pulls you under toward the end of the layout, which is cool. Bandit at Movie Park Germany, that was that horrific, it still is, the horrific RCCA wooden coaster. It's a copy of a Cyclone, except they did a terrible job, so it was shit for a while. But some numerous times it's been retracked and redone, and it is apparently not as bad anymore. It's still a Cyclone clone. Cyclone's a solid layout, so I mean, a good Cyclone's a really good Cyclone. We saw it with Oscar at Nara Dreamland, so but the meme is calling it Band-Aid instead of Bandit because it hurts you and you need a Band-Aid after you're done. Anyway, Batman the Ride, another clone at Over Texas. That opened this year. Kind of late for a Batman clone. I think it's one of the later ones to open in the Six Flags chain. I know Vampire was the last in 2002. Oh, well, or if you count it, let's see. You had New Orleans in 2002, 2003 they opened Batman. And then it was moved to as Goliath at Fiesta Texas in 2007 or 8 or 9. 2008, I want to say. Anyway, Diving Coaster Vanish at Yokohama Cosmo World. That opened in this year. That's the one that you'll kind of see sometimes how it goes underwater. That's pretty cool ride. Kind of not a very comfortable ride. It's got over the shoulders and doesn't have the best track profiling. It's made by Senyo Kogyo, so it's just one of those Japanese knockoffs that don't make the smoothest rides, but very interesting, very cool how it goes underwater. It interacts with the log flume, has a few helixes, so that's kind of cool. Dragon Challenge, RIP, those awesome dueling inverted coasters. It used to be at Universal Islands of Adventure, so that's pretty cool. Those both look like some really solid inverts. I would rank them around the middle of the pack for B&M inverts when they were still operating. I did a video on this about a year ago where I talked about top 20 B&M inverts when there were 20 of them for once. It looks like it'll be a few years until we get the next two inverts to make it 20 operating ones again. 20 unique operating ones again, because Batman's are all one and Monster Raptor. Anyway, yeah, these were solid rides. I'd say Fireball is better than Ice just because of that awesome that upward helix into the Emmelman looks really really solid. Um, and I mean Horntail looks pretty good too. It looks to have more whip, but like the Fireball is just so unique with that wraparound Immelman and then the zero G roll, or no, the airtime hill that interacts with zero G roll, even if the train isn't even going through. It's still really cool. So those are both really cool rides for sure. Face Off, or now called in Vertigo at Kings Island. That's when it was the yellow one, the yellow and red color scheme that was just a total eyesore. That McDonald's it should have been sponsored by McDonald's, but now it's blue and it's right next to the front gate, and it's kind of weird. But it's kind of cool. I can see it being removed for the Giga. I'd like to see that actually because Vertigo sucks. I already have the credit. Um, destroy it. Didn't it like have some kind of issue in 2016? I don't know. Point is, destroy it just like they did with Stinger. That's what I say. Also, 1999, Georgia Scorcher opened. That is probably top 3 stand-up coaster in the world. Looks really solid, very smooth. I've heard, kind of intense. Maybe some airtime in the back on the drop, and just does some really nice, smooth little twisties and the corkscrew in a loop, and it's a cool little layout. So that's a cool ride. Moving on. We got some even more 1999 coasters. Incredible Hulk at Universal Adventure. And of course, the park opened in that year where they debuted with Dragon Challenge, Incredible Hulk, and a bunch of other attractions that I can't name because I only care about roller coasters. But that's that awesome B&M sitting coaster that had a launch made from a different company. I forget what it was called, but they made a launch that launched upward into a zero G roll, and then that Cobra roll that like the Cobra roll over the water that everybody knows about. So yeah, that was this year, and probably a pretty big ride for the time. It being a massive B&M opening in Florida, so that's probably pretty cool. And it's a pretty alright B&M sitter. You don't really hear about it as often as you hear like talk about Kumba or something. It's probably just because of the park it's at. Like nobody goes to Universal's to ride Universal's Island Adventure to ride roller coasters really anymore, unfortunately. But definitely a very cool ride. And I'd say there's no way Kumba's worse than Hulk, but some people say that and they're crazy. So anyway, I wouldn't know. I've ridden none of these coasters. Joker's Jinx at Six Flags America. That is the clone of Poltergeist, so that spaghetti bowl that opened at Fiesta Texas the previous year. Or sorry, no, that was this year. It's on this list. So I'll talk about them both here. So Joker's Jinx, themed to the Joker. It's that awesome purple and green like Premier Rides spaghetti bowl. It's like Flight of Fear except outdoors, and it's pretty cool. It's got no mid-course brake run, so it's a little more insane. That final corkscrew, you just tear right through that thing. It's pretty crazy. Same thing goes for Poltergeist. That's got the yellow track, light blue supports. I've ridden it. I remember it. I remember the corkscrew being pretty cool. And a fun fact about these rides. There's a point of view of one, Crazy Cobras, which actually is reopening soon. It was closed for some extensive repairs in the past year or two, but it's opening back up, and there's a point of view of it from Maya P.A. Massane, his great channel. Lots of Asian point of views, POVs, pretty cool. There's a POV of it with it operating in break-in mode, and I guess break-in mode means the launch is like quicker, and I forget how much quicker, but like normally it's 60, but they might have upped it to, I don't know, 70 or something, and it was a lot more insane. There's a great point of view of it with I keep saying point of view instead of POV. POV is the right way to say it. I mean, really. But yeah. So basically, they ran Poltergeist in break-in mode when Iron Rattler was closed in the 2013 Ace event. So that's kind of interesting, and it would have been pretty cool to ride Poltergeist a lot faster like that. That'd be really cool. But yeah, and Poltergeist has a pretty kind of like I've ridden it, so I know the theme, and it is like a kind of like a cemetery type sort of deal with some gravestones, but it's pretty bad. It's like Poltergeist. I don't know. It's a cool ride to look at though, and I mean it's just kind of there. It's not themed with anything else. It's its own thing. It's unique. I think it's cool. Yeah. So Medusa, which is now known as Bizarro, opened at Six Flags Great Adventure this year. That was the first flowless coaster, so it's like the sitting coasters, but there's no floor, which adds almost nothing to the experience, in my opinion. And it probably rides pretty similarly to them. It's got the Cobra roll that you like walk through to get to the ride station, which is cool. There's no other flowless that does that, really, I don't think. So that's pretty cool. But it's the most standard flowless layout. It was cloned in 2003 with Scream. It's just got the loop, zero G roll, dive loop, or something like that. Loop, dive loop, zero G roll, then the double corkscrew and another element in there somewhere I'm forgetting about. But yeah, it's your standard floorless. It's solid, pretty intense, no airtime, good stuff. Millennium at Fantasy Island was the first Vekoma that you could re-ride because it was smooth as hell. Not a very exciting ride. It's got 3 inversions, I think. I think it's 2 vertical loops, maybe a corkscrew in there, or maybe a double corkscrew. Maybe it's 4 inversions. And it's got a helix in there, but it's really kind of a lame ride. I think it was actually repainted this year. I guess like a really weird multicolored color scheme this year with like green and orange and stuff. But hey, it's a cool ride, very unique. It goes all through the park. So yeah. Also Montezuma. That is, oh my god, at Hopi Hari. That's down in Brazil. That's this massive monstrosity of an RCCA that, oh god, it's like the only green wooden coaster out there I can think of, right? Well, no, sorry, whoa, I just offended a lot of people. Oscar's Wacky Taxi has green supports, but this one has the green stairs on the side of it, which look really awkward. And yeah, that opened this year. It has it's one of the it's like top 10 at least longest wooden coasters in the world. Just because it's like it looks shorter than it is here, but like if you just look at how big those helixes are and just how awkward the layout is, like what's going on here. But yeah, it's a terrain coaster and it's horrible. They need to arm seat immediately. It'd be a really cool arm seat. That's what I'll say about it. I heard from Richard Bannister that it was the worst experience on a roller coaster he's ever had, and how there was jackhammering nonstop. And the locals still enjoy it, so why arm seat it? And I hear Hopi Hari is having issues with money, so that would make sense too. Powder Keg at Silver Dollar City opened this year as well. That was the Premier Rides water coaster that was converted to an SNS air launch coaster. A really unique thing that occurred there. Yeah, pretty cool ride. It's got that awesome air launch to like 50-ish miles per hour. 55, I think, is the number. And launches straight into a nice airtime hill, and then does some twisties and turnies, and then the track changes to the Premier Rides track. So it starts with the SNS that you see there, and then in the background's the Premier Rides track. So it's really unique, very cool looking ride. And it actually ends with a really, really short section after a lift hill. Silver Dollar City tends to have the weirdest lift hills at the end of the rides. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Anyway, we got even more 1999 coasters. We got Ride of Steel at Darien Lake. That is the Intamin Hyper over there. It's like 200 feet tall. Pretty solid ride. It was the first coaster of its kind to open. Actually, it was the first Intamin Hyper or anything of the sort. As far as right? Isn't that right? Yeah. It's the first Intamin Hyper to ever open. So it was the first time you could really experience that Intamin floater airtime. That is pretty solid. There's like those nice big 2 hills that she got. 2 really pointless, mega long helixes that are just so meaningless and just silly. That don't provide any intensity and only provide a great sense of speed. There's that straight track before the second floater airtime hill, but then at the end there's 4 awesome ejector hills that make the ride worth riding. Make the ride worth riding. Yeah. Roar also opened. Did I talk about it in the last year? Six Flags Americas opened the previous year, and then Roar at Discover Kingdom opened this year, and we all know that that's been RMC'd since. It is now good old Joker. So that's pretty cool. Silver Comet at Fantasy Island, the CCI, with it does an out and back, and then it comes back and does another out and back. So it's like a double out and back is what you'll call that. It's got some solid laterals and a second out and back. There's a few hills that look like they provide some nice airtime. I hear it's a pretty fun night ride in a weird spot by Niagara Falls on that island. Just a cool little CCI. Not anything crazy. It's like 100-ish feet tall, so it's like your average sort of CCI. Still a custom layout, still pretty cool. Don't RMC it. That's what I'll say. Steel Eel opened at City Road San Antonio. That is one of the Morgan Hypers. One of the later ones to open. Well, no, Steel Force was 98. Wild Thing was 96. Mambo was 98, I want to say. So Steel Eel was one of the last. Obviously, Superman was planning to open in like 2000, but it was pushed back to 2003 or 2004, I think. That's pretty cool. But yeah, Steel Eel is not really a hyper. It's 150 feet, but it looks like a hyper, just the way it like presents itself. Yellow track, pretty tall. Got some floater airtime. I hear the airtime hurts with this ride. I don't know why that is. It's got the same restraints as Mamba. Maybe the airtime is just so strong that it hurts. Maybe it's a compliment to Steel Eel. I don't know. Also, Tennessee Tornado at Dollywood, the last Aero Looper to open. unfortunately, because this is a really cool ride. Ellen Shoki designed it, and it was pretty short, but it began with a drop into a tunnel, and you come out of the tunnel into this massive 110-foot tall loop. Like, holy crap, that's so cool. And yeah, this loop was really, really big and really cool, and it kind of twisted. You could actually feel the twists in the first vertical loop, and then it does a side or does another loop eventually, a turn or something, and then a sidewinder, and then the brake run. So it's pretty short, but it's still really cool. Tornado at Parc d'Attractions de Madrid. That's exactly how you pronounce that. And that is the the second Intamin invert to open. Volcano was on last week. People got mad that I not included Volcano last week. Too bad. CCIs are better. But yeah, Tornado opened. That was not launched. That was a lift hill, so it's not like Tornado or Volcano in that sense. Volcano Tornado. This one, it opened actually as a green coaster. It was like a really ugly olive, like a light olive green that matched the colors of the trees, and it was just not very pretty. It's got a vertical loop and a corkscrew and two really intense helixes, but I hear it rattles pretty bad. Offers some nice views of Madrid though, and it's just a pretty cool ride. Pretty nice looking park I've seen. Yeah, and just like Face Off to open this year, Face Off with the hyphen. There's another hyphenated coaster, Two Face, the flip side, at Six Flags America open this year. That's the really weird orange Invertigo clone that everybody forgets about. And yeah, it exists. It was a ride, and it malfunctioned around 2006. Something about like chemicals being spilled, like liquid chemicals being spilled while I was on the lift hill, and there was some kind of thing that happened, and it was removed not long after that. It was moved to the park near it's in Italy. I think it's called Diabolic now, if I'm correct. And it's blue, and it's pretty cool. It's really close to Gardaland. So what? That's like Verona, Italy-ish area. Yeah, you can look it up yourself. I'm just telling you things that I know, which are interesting. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed listening to the things that I know that are interesting. See you guys later.